Hello, minasan. It's Hisako again. Today, I thought I'd do a short little video to actually talk about something, again, not henshin related. I just thought it'd be a fun topic since we just got back from Houston Japan Festival this afternoon. Had a super fun time. I loved it. That's of all the events that I do throughout the year, even though this one isn't really a convention, Houston Japan Festival is my favorite thing that we do. So I was super excited to be able to do that, especially because it was on hiatus since the pandemic. So this was actually, I think, their second year back since then. So I was very excited. But it actually reminded me, and I thought I'd just share a little story, actually, of how I met my husband, because I actually met him at Japan Festival. So my husband and I had met, I want to say, I think it was 2016. It was, I think, 2016 or 17, one of the two. I can't quite remember. But we had actually met, and it was actually one of my first years that I went to Japan Festival by myself. I had only gone one other time with somebody else, and it was my first time going alone, and I was really nervous. And it was also the first time I did cosplay in public as well, and so it was a whole thing. And I had actually scheduled to do a photo shoot with somebody at the festival, because I was like, oh, this is a chance to, practice posing. And they were practicing photography, so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to do that. And while I was there, it turns out that my husband was actually friends with the person that was photographing me. So I got the chance to meet him. And at the time, I thought he was super cute, and I was like, oh, this guy's never going to talk to me. And but I was like, oh, wow, he's really cool. He ended up being a really big dork later on, but whatever, we'll get to that part. But yeah, I thought he was super cool, and we got to be friends on Facebook, and I was super excited about that, but I was very shy, and I was like, no, I'm not going to ask him out, because I just don't have that confidence. But I was just super excited to be friends with him at that point. So we had kind of talked a little bit off and on Facebook. And then the next year, when I went back to Japan Festival again, we had actually run into each other again. And I was like, oh, like, hey, Evan, how are you? And, fangirled and stuff. And he said that after the festival, he was going to get ramen and that I could, you should come. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I will. And so after the festival, I went home, I got all dressed up and stuff, because I thought he had asked me to go get ramen. I thought it was a date, and it was not. I get to the ramen place, and he had invited like 20 other people. It was a group thing, and I was like, oh, like, I really missed the memo there. And so I felt really dumb. But then I was like, that's okay. It's no pressure, because now you can just get to know them in a casual setting, so it's not a date, so that's probably better. So like the whole night when I was talking to him, I was like very subtly flirting with him, but I was trying to be really low-key about it. I was not trying to be obvious, because I was, again, still really shy. But I thought this was a good opportunity. So after the ramen place, everybody was going to go to a tea house afterwards. So I was like, yeah, I'll go to the tea house. And so I go there, and I keep talking to him. I keep continuing to kind of flirt a little bit. And there was a girl with him the whole time. And I thought that this was just one of his friends, because they didn't seem like a couple. They were just sitting together. It didn't give me that impression, so I didn't think anything of it. And then it was getting late, but they were all going to go to a second tea house. And by this point, I was getting a little tired, but I was like, well, I still want to get to know this person, so, I'll go too. And when we were in the parking lot, the girl had turned to him and told him that she had a headache, and she wanted to know if they could stop by a pharmacy to get some Tylenol really quick on the way to the next tea house. And he said, sure, no problem, babe, and then kissed her forehead. And I was like, oh, that was his girlfriend. That was not his friend. That was his girlfriend. And immediately I was like, you know what? It's getting late. I'm going to go home. But thank you for inviting me. I had a really fun time. And the whole ride home, like, I felt so embarrassed and so stupid. I was like, I didn't know. I'm like, oh, darn. And so I kind of just wrote Evan off. And eventually at one point, him and that girl had went their separate ways, and he ended up dating another girl that he got actually briefly engaged to. And when I'd seen that on my Facebook, I just wrote Evan off. I was like, nope, off the market, gone forever, bye. So I forgot about Evan. Fast forward a couple years after that, in 2020, I had actually been on my Facebook and saw that he said that he was single again, and he, sad face. And I messaged him initially because I was just like, what happened? Like, I thought things were going good for you. And so I was just very confused. But I also thought, well, maybe this is the opportunity to ask him on a date. Maybe this is going to be my only chance to shoot my shot. So we were talking, and he just told me that it hadn't worked out with the other person, and things happen. And so I was like, hey, maybe we could go out for coffee or tea or even water if you want. I literally asked him if he wanted to go get water. Because that's how socially awkward I am sometimes. You just don't know what to say. And as soon as I typed that, I was like, wow, that was the dumbest thing to say. No. But it worked, and he thought that was super funny, apparently. Probably because it was cringe. And he was like, yeah, we can go get water. And we did. We actually went and got coffee. And then we got sushi afterwards. But after that, the rest is history. We actually started dating on day one after the first date. He was like, why don't we just do this? I like you, you like me, let's move forward with it. And we did. And later on, we were engaged and we got married in 2023. So it was not the person I would ever have expected it to end up with. I thought Evan was so out of my league. And I thought he would think I was so goofy. No, it turns out Evan's actually the goofy one, not me. But it ended up being a really great surprise. And I just think it's funny sometimes how the universe puts people in our path without ever realizing who they're going to be in the future. Because you never know. And I never would have guessed that in a million years. And he's such an amazing partner for me, and is the perfect match. And I never would have guessed in a million years that I would have found somebody like that for me. So Japan Festival, long story short, Japan Festival will always hold a special place in my heart for that reason, because that is where I met the person that I would spend the rest of my life with, and who's also been a big part of my journey doing henshin and supporting all the things I do, and being my biggest cheerleader. So we love you, Evan. But yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about how I met my husband, since that is how I met him through Japan Festival. So yeah, if you have any comments or anything, write them below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys. Arigatou gozaimasu.